Jazz here, and I am so digging the Geekcast radio network.
Greetings, humans. This is Starscream, and you're listening to Toycast. And if any of you call me a partsformer one more time...
Now, Toycast. Oh, yes. Listen in to the only toy podcast you will ever need.
Hello and welcome to Toycast. This is episode 141. Don't ask, folks. You'll figure it out when you figure it out. But as we're on our way to 150 episodes and then 200 for Toycast, I'm, of course, TF2 Mike. Joining me this time around is Steve Megatron. Hello.
Yo.
Yo, yo, yo. And tonight we're going to talk about the excitement of the toys that time forgot. So this is a mixture of two of Steve's ideas where he said to me off air about we could talk about stuff we're excited for now or stuff we've gotten recently. And we can also talk about stuff we've, rediscovered, from the past. And the funny thing about this is what I remember, not really remember, but what I am finding is, everybody's doing these year-end, top of 2021 lists and stuff of whatever. It doesn't have to be toy, just the top lists of 2021 kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the Funko Pops that I managed and was lucky enough to get throughout 2021 are not even Funko Pops that were released in 2021. Yeah, there have been a couple that I have gotten that have been released this year, but I just got in the Miles Morales winter suit. It's the Gamerverse. It was a Hot Topic exclusive from Spider-Man Miles Morales, and it's one of the more interesting pops because it's him hanging upside down like he's webbing and whatever, and he's got his winter hat on and his ear muffs and all of that, and I'm like, that's really, really ingenious. Oh wait, this came out in 2020. Whoops. It's been that kind of start to this decade, folks. So what about you, sir? What are you currently excited for?
Well, Transformers for one, but yeah, there's so many good ones. So many good ones coming out now.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when we started recording way back when, ATTF, and we're like, it'd be nice to have show accurate characters. It'd be nice to have this. It'd be nice to have that. And I'm sitting here now and I'm like, they're actually here. They're actually coming out. And so I've hit this point where I'm about to hit some of the holy grail marks, and then I'm experimenting with custom figures because they're figures that'll never be made, and I figured why not? So just like when I was collecting a ton of the Batman Beyond or Batman the Animated Series figures, and before I purged the majority of everything, I made a Batman Beyond Return of the Joker figure, and I have to say to this day that my customs are probably some of my favorite figures, just because it pushed me to not only ruin a figure completely to the point that there's no going back once I start, but the fact that, for instance, that figure, I took one of the wild card Jokers, and I popped his head off.
Yes, you did.
I remember shattering the body because it was one of the ones with the black outfit, because I had the regular one and then I had that one, And I was like, well, it doesn't have to be perfect. I think I got it for like $10 or something. And then I got a Nightwing figure for about $6 or $7 or something. So I managed to mix him down, smooth out the chest, sanding it down. I had to cut off a lot of the Joker hair and then smooth it out and then paint everything.
Right.
and
Yeah.
attach it. And so it's still, because I color matched literally everything. I took pictures of the Joker to the store.
Mm-hmm.
And from the show, and I color matched it with the tester's paints that I saw at like Joann's or Michael's or wherever it was I got the paint. And it's funny because, looking back to that, it was very amateur, but it was still better than when I got tester's paints as a teenager and tried to touch up my Beast Wars Megatron original dinosaur, or my Machine Wars Megatron, or my Rampage figure that I had. It was just infinitely better. And then looking back now, I'm still learning some new things because I have customized about half of my Transformer collection. So like half of them are Kingdom, half of them Thrilling 30, some original, some Transmetal, some knockoff, some of them War for Cybertron line in Kingdom and whatnot. So it's fun because I've managed to completely custom about literally half of them now at this point. And I've learned quite a bit. There's certain paints I've learned that they streak really well on certain characters based on the plastics used, or that if you use certain types of paint, they solidify to the point they're a brick.
Yep.
And I've learned too that you must take them completely apart if you want to ever transform them again, and because it allows you to coat them and doing less coats more often. And so I'm on the verge of undertaking a completely custom figure that requires kit bashing. So for those that are familiar with my love of Transformers and Beast Wars Megatron, will know that there's probably 2 Beast Wars Megatron figures that I'll never own. One of them is from BotCon 2006, which is the Cybertron Scattershot figure, where he's basically the armored version and they painted him differently, and then they popped a Megatron head on him. And yes, I could make the same figure, but why? Plus, I don't really care to have one that's that gargantuan at this point in time. So the other one that came out was a Robots in Disguise Megatron that was completely repainted with like the reds, oranges, and golds, and given a Beast Wars Megatron head from like the Transmetal, because he's supposedly like Transmetal 3 from like the Uprising line. And that one would be cheaper to obtain, but I still don't want it bad enough. I want the Beast Wars Megatron that's from Dawn of Future Past when he took the armor off.
Right. Yeah.
So I've whittled down, and I've done more toy research than I probably needed to, trying to find the right shape, the right size, the right components that would help create that. So I've tracked down getting. It's funny because I was looking for the War for Cybertron Kingdom Beast Megatron head, and somebody's like, well, would a T-Rex work if you're just going to repaint it? He's like, because, and it's some artist, I feel bad because I forgot his name, but he's on Allspark, and he's like, he private messaged me, he's like, so you just need to repaint it, right? And I said, yeah. He says, I have a T-Rex head. He's like, just pay the shipping and I'll send it to you. And I was like, oh, awesome.
Cool.
So I'm going to completely repaint it anyway. So the head, which figure it came from, doesn't matter. And then there's the fact of the torso, which I'm getting the Combiner Wars Skywarp for.
Interesting.
And there's a reason behind this particular figure. I was looking at the chest of the Dawn of Future Past Megatron, as well as the Skywarp, and the way that the chest looks is pretty identical. I got to fill in some of the what looks like the beak of the cockpit of the faux cockpit that's on his chest.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to fill that in a little bit and then just basically repaint it. But it's got the shoulder guards, it's got the right proportions for the arms. It's got some of it is black, which means that I won't have to repaint everything. And some of it I'll have to repaint. I mean, it's got some purple, so I'm going to have to get a purple paint, which you'll be ecstatic about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you've shown off
basically completely purple in different shades.
Yeah. You've shown off designs to us in private messages and stuff, and I'm like, ooh, that's cool.
And it's a digibash. I mean, I photoshopped the individual components, like cut them off of the figures, and then I photoshopped them to look how I'm going to make it, or at least the intention. And then I'm still torn on the legs. There's a possibility I may get this thing called Milliput, which is like it's like a putty that hardens that you can kind of craft, and then you seal it and then you paint it. And I may go that route. It just depends on how the feet work, because I'm not totally familiar with this figure, never having had any of the Combiner Wars figures. And the other option is getting a War for Cybertron Kingdom Galvatron's legs and waist and attaching them, which is exactly what I had in the Digibash, and I think that it would fit really well. But it's a matter of if I can dismember it from the each figure and reattach it.
Yeah.
Which that I'm a little skeptical on, so I'm going to see what I can do once the Skywarp arrives, and then see how I can component piece it together. But otherwise, I mean, that's one of my things is the Beast Wars. Like, that's kind of my gateway to all things Transformers.
Exactly. It's almost as if this was an episode of All Things Transformers, even though it's Toycast. And it's crazy to me, and I understand. I get it. Don't get me wrong. I get it. It's a convention exclusive. I typed in BotCon 2006 Megatron.
He's like $1,500 on eBay.
Oh, no. It's worse.
He's higher?
Oh, it's worse.
I can't wait to look this up now.
No, I'll send you the link, but it's worse. It is nearly $3,000.
Man, it picked the sucker up back in the day.
The only listing I have found that is of just him, that is of the correct Megatron, is $2,950 or best offer plus $50 shipping.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So I'm like,
it kills me. It's funny.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's like, why?
And I mean, I get it. It's a convention exclusive. I mean,
but not the rest of the Maximals though, they go for anywhere between $2,000 and $3,000.
Yeah.
For the kit of 5, like it's not even the extras like Waspinator and Tigatron and Air Razor that came out separately.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at the very next listing is the full set, box set complete, $1,950.
I mean, don't get me wrong. If I bought Scattershot and then I got the head from the War for Cybertron or the T-Rex figure and I applied it here, I could do the same thing.
Yeah.
And it would require elbow grease, but I know I could do it.
Yeah.
And that's the point of it. But the other one, the one from the 2016 Dawn of Predacus, the Dragon Megatron, it's funny because 6 months ago he went for $200 on eBay. Now he goes for $5.
Jesus.
Like I've kind of like just watched it periodically, just out of curiosity. I'll never pull the trigger on it.
There's no way.
I'm seeing a ton of them on there now, which is funnier. I'll get up, but especially all the BotCon sets, like they're all like crazy on there. But I just honestly, I don't care. Like it's not something I feel I have to have, and it's probably because it's so outrageously priced. Like a lot of the stuff that's out nowadays is outrageously priced.
I will be very interested to see, and to my knowledge, there hasn't been any new listings yet for what Funko is doing next with the Transformers stuff, because the last one they had released was a convention-exclusive Trax, but, I mean, so far they've, done all of the, Optimuses and Soundwaves and Megatrons and Bumblebees, and they've done Starscream. They haven't done the rest of the Seeker Jets or anything like that, but it would be really interesting to see if Funko got a hold of the Beast Wars stuff to see what.
If they came out with Funko Beast Wars, I would probably pull the trigger on Megatron. I would
that's
say
what I'm
the
saying.
rest of them. But
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it's going to be really interesting to see if Funko still has the license. Like, I don't know what's going to happen this year because, like I said, they've had the license for various Transformers things since Dark of the Moon, but only recently in their retro toy line did they do the classic characters based on the actual robot modes of the action figures. So if you look at any of the Megatrons, it's basically toy gun Megatron robot mode. It looks just like, except the fact that he has a giant head and he has a giant bucket for a head. It's robot, it's 1980s robot Megatron. Same thing with Soundwave. With Soundwave, they've done several different things. They've done regular Soundwave in the regular 3-inch or 4-inch or whatever the standard size for Funkos are, and they've done the giant size, the 10-inch one, and then one of the other ones they did was the shattered glass on his cassette door. With Trax was interesting because Trax, it's based on the toy. And like I said, so you have the toyetic with the giant head, but the back of Trax, like, it's back of the robot mode, so it's the hood of the car on the back of his legs. I'm like, that is so damn interesting. So it's going to be fun to see what, if anything, Funko does with Transformers this year in 2022. What else is going on? Let's see. I've moved. I'm probably gonna have to move again in a couple of months. So ToyCast releases maybe few and far between until after the summer. I don't know yet. Not sure what's going on with that as of lately. I will say that the Funko collection is growing at a slower pace than what it was, obviously. But because I only grab stuff that I absolutely want. Like, I'm not, like you said, you're not going to pull the trigger on a Funko Pop unless it's something you absolutely have to want. And there are plenty of fandoms and lines out there that I just don't need to collect because I don't have to have them all. If it's something where it's a brand or a franchise or a whatever that I absolutely love, that I really, really, really love, then yeah, sure, I'm going to want it. But most of the time I'm not grabbing a lot of this stuff.
Well, and that's the funny thing is, like, sometimes you get this completionist vibe and other times you don't. And it's kind of funny because I was going through and I don't remember why, but I was looking for my kid has one of the Robots in Disguise repaints of a Machine Wars figure, which is actually a G2 figure from Europe.
Okay.
Anyways, the kids were playing and they dismembered him, and I was putting him back together, and I said, hey, I used to have one like this, but it was painted different. And I says, actually, that was one of my first, repaints. And they were like, huh? And so I showed them a picture of the stock photo from the from one of the websites, maybe Cybertron or T-Formers or something like that. And it was probably Cybertron looking back, but I was describing, I says, they had Megaplex, which was a clone of Megatron. They had, Skywarp, Thundercracker, and they were different G2 molds that were reused for Machine Wars and then reused for Beast Wars 2 or Neo or one of the two. And they were like, oh, okay. And so I showed him the pictures, and he's like, oh, that looks kind of neat. And I says, yeah, that was, basically what I had. And then I started getting into the Machine Wars rabbit hole, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember I had Starscream, I had Soundwave, and my brother had this one, and then he had this one, and my other brother had this one, and so he was entertained by it, and then I was like, it's funny because I forgot I had those Machine Wars figures other than the Megatron. Just because I haven't seen pictures of them in ages, and I don't even remember the last time I took pictures of those before I got rid of them. And then I was looking back at some other pictures of, my collection even 4 or 5 years ago, and the things I had were vastly different. Now, I did have some similarities, like Masterpiece, Optimus Primal, Optimal Optimus, the original Cheetor, Rat Trap, Transmetal Megatron, and Tarantulas, and the T-30 Waspinator. The rest of them I didn't have. Or I had different iterations of them. Like I have a War for Cybertron Earthrise Prime now, but I had the Masterpiece MPO-1. Right. Which to some degree, sometimes I regret getting rid of, but because he was die-cast, he was huge. But honestly, I didn't like having it for the reason that it was so huge. I couldn't really display it, and I was just afraid of destroying it because it was die-cast and plastic. Which it was a spectacular figure, and I was sad to part with it, although I tripled my money on getting rid of it that I paid for it originally. So that was beautiful.
Cool.
But I don't know, like it's just funny to kind of look back at what you had, what you have, and how it's, still kind of influencing your fandom.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things where, again, I get a lot of the superhero stuff or a lot of the franchise stuff from Funko as Funko Pops? Yes, for the collections that I enjoy and whatever else. But I also what I love about Funko Pop is, and I've said this before on the show, when they do things that you're never going to get a real action figure of this. Like when they go to movies or when they do stuff like ad icons or things like that. Movies specifically. Over the Christmas break, I picked up the Home Alone Kevin McAllister in his winter, when he's walking home with the groceries, and he's got his hat on and all of that. So there's a Funko Pop version of that. There was a FYE exclusive version of Clark Griswold holding the burnt out sled. So, like, if I want to combine movies in a photo to put on Instagram, hey, look, here's 2 of my favorite Christmas movies, Home Alone and Christmas Vacation. And they're 2 very unique figures that you're never going to get anywhere else in any other format, style, whatever, any other company, whatever. And that's what I love about doing the Funko thing. I have very few Star Wars Funko Pops. I've got some, but I've got very few of them. And I didn't just want they have Darth Vaders. They have Darth Vaders upon Darth Vaders upon. Darth Vader for Funko is the same thing as Batman. There's at least 2 or 3. I'm probably kidding here, but I'm exaggerating. There's a ton of Darth Vader Funko Pops. I didn't just want him with a lightsaber or something. I have the one, it was a Funko Shop exclusive where he's got the Force Fist where he's holding his fist up. I'm going to get you kids, kind of thing. And it's just, that's the thing. Like with Megatron, with Generation 1 Megatron, I don't have the regular common with him and his fusion cannon. I have the GameStop exclusive one, which it has his energy mace, because that was obviously from the first 3-parter of the cartoon, More Than Meets the Eye. So, I don't know. I'm excited to see what all the toy companies do this year because, between Hasbro, like we were saying on the last HTF at the end of last year, we have no idea what Hasbro's going to do with Transformers this year. I mean, we do know. We've seen things, but there are also plenty of things that we haven't seen of what they're going to do. But that new, what is it called? Is it Legends? Not Legends.
Legacy?
Yes, thank you, Legacy. You know, the new Legacy line where they're trying to align everything into one thing. I think that's great because you don't have your little kids going into the store saying, oh, mommy, oh, daddy, I need this, this, and this. And then you're like, oh, but it's from this line, and this line, and it's this size, and this size. You have it all under one banner, one thing, and it's going to be fun and interesting. I'm interested to see what Mattel does with Masters and whatever other non-Barbie things that they have in there. I don't know what Mattel has other than Masters. I know they have a bunch of other things. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what the toy landscape looks like in this new year, 2022. And you know what, folks? Just have fun with it.
Yeah, and that's kind of something I've kind of resonated with, in the last year as I've re-explored some of the Transformers is, the fun of finding them, the fun of, what you can do with them because like the show accuracy. So yeah, it's fun. Yep.
Absolutely. I know this has been kind of a quick, short episode, folks, but Toycast is building its Lincoln Log Village this year, and we're going to have to get back on track. I'm sure Josh the Floorburger and Adas Baron will be joining me again for a future episode. I don't know when that will be. I had asked them at the end of last year when they wanted to record, but no real definitive answer because you really can't do stuff around, like you can't do recordings around the holidays. So I'm sure there will be more Toycast Origins out there. Anyone that's a toy collector or a fan of toys who collects them that wants to be on can be on. Where can people find you online, sir?
At SCP-21 or at Steve Phillips VO.
I'm at TFU and Mike. You can find the show at TF Toycast on Twitter. We are also on Facebook. Just search out Toycast. You can also check out geekcastradio.com for all the other content and everything else that we do. Until next time, keep playing with your toys, and I'm so sorry, Deval, that I keep stealing your catchphrase. But anyway, we'll catch you next time here on Toycast.